Today, I want to show you how I use the most complex Beach Boys background vocal part as a guiding principle in writing an 8-part original a cappella to one of my own songs. The result clearly has the vibe and pays homage to the original tune, yet retains an unmistakable character of its own. If nothing else, it's a really good exercise for learning the specifics of what makes a particular part tick and seeing if you can extract its character and paste it onto a different musical scenario. The Beach Boys song I'm referring to is Heroes and Villains, of course, specifically the a cappella vocal breakdown. I do an entire video lesson on this vocal part on my channel, so check that out. I think it's the most complex group vocal part that Brian Wilson ever wrote, and it's certainly worth learning. If you are someone that writes group vocal parts or background vocal parts, prepare to be schooled, because Brian Wilson is just on another level when it comes to group background vocals with things like counterpoint, using alternate syllables, so many different things about it that he just achieved what I don't think anyone else did. Let me quickly show you a 1-minute recap of the parts of the Heroes and Villains vocal score for that breakdown. So I wanted to use those vocal parts as if it was some sort of guiding principle and then kind of copy it and change it as needed onto my own song. The song I used on this one is called She's a Girl, and it's one of my songs. It's the title track of a album called She's a Girl from my group I.S.S. You can buy that on Bandcamp. You can also see a video for the song here. The song is an unapologetic homage to Heroes and Villains and does use the vocal motif and chord progression from Heroes and Villains, but is otherwise an original song. So I had this bridge to She's a Girl that I wanted to have that intensity of the Heroes and Villains vocal part. But the problem is it doesn't have the same chord progression, so I had to find a way to make those parts work over this chord progression. So Heroes and Villains is in C sharp or D flat, and it's got that 1 to 2 dominant, 5, 1. Anyway, the part for my bridge was going to be more of this A flat 7 to D flat, so 1 to 5, and be like. But the D flat would be over A flat in the bass, and I've talked in my other videos of how often Brian does alternate bass notes to really nice effect. So we have A flat 7. And really it sounds like 1 to 5 in D flat, right? But when it goes to D flat, it kind of turns it dominant. So this could be an A flat like a blues. It's a little ambiguous, but the whole song has been in, D flat so far. So there's no reason to believe that's not the case again. So the difference here is the Heroes and Villains chord progression, 1, 2 dominant, 5 dominant, 1 is different than just going 5, 1 to 1 dominant. So I have to take each of those parts and see if I can somehow make it work over this chord progression. So I hate having to advertise to you, so let me make this quick. I could really use your help to grow this channel. Between my full-time job as an ER nurse and being a husband and father of 2 kids, it is very hard for me to find the time to make content for this channel. Many of my videos take 10 or 20 hours to create. For those of you who are really getting a lot out of my lessons, here is how you can help me out. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel and that the notification bell is set to all notifications for my channel. I think only 10% of you have that clicked now. You can watch more of my videos by browsing through the playlist section of my channel to find the videos that most interest you. But the very best way you can help me is to subscribe to my Patreon music school called High Castle Conservatory. YouTube pays me about 1 cent per view, but on Patreon you can decide to give me $3.50 a month, or $7, or $15, or more, whatever you feel you're getting out of my lessons. The more support that I get on Patreon, the more time I have to devote to making unique music education content for you. At this point, I have not abbreviated my videos here on YouTube or put my full videos behind a paywall, and by joining my Patreon, you help me in the most direct way possible. If you have found yourself really enjoying my lessons, then please come join High Castle Conservatory on Patreon. Lastly, please consider buying my original music projects I.S.S. and High Castle Tele Orchestra on Bandcamp. You can find the details and links in the description below. Now let's get back to that lesson. The bass vocal part in Heroes and Villains sounded something like bo bo doo bo doo bo 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 doo bo doo bo. That's not going to work over this. Boom, boo doo boo doo boo boo doo doo. I just decided I want my part to be different, so I'm going to kind of not do that part. I'm going to do something more like this. Girl, 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 she's a girl, 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 she's a girl, 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 she's a girl, 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 she's a... Now it sounds like this. Girl, bo, 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 she's a girl, bo, 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 she's a girl, bo, 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 she's a girl, bo, 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 she's a... And then on Heroes and Villains, the next part up that I called baritone 1 is like a muffled, muted trumpet type of sound. I think Carl was doing it. So that's going to have to be a little different, I think. So we'll have to convert it to that. It's a little bit different, but it still is the same basic thing. So let's hear those two together. And of course, Brian was always looking at ways to have the background parts hit certain words, and I use that throughout this entire thing of having certain words pop out on different parts. It ends up sounding kind of chaotic in the end, but in a cool way, I think. She's a, or whatever. She's a girl. She's a girl. She's a, and then I say girl, she's a girl, she's a girl. So far the bass is completely different. Boom, bo doo bo doo bo boom is nothing like girl, 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 she's a girl, 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 she's a... So you have to add your own originality. I couldn't just paste these parts straight on because the chord progression is different, so it wasn't going to work quite like that. The next part up is kind of a subtle part that I'm not really sure exists or not, but it sounds like this. Girl, she's a girl. Bow, she's a girl. And if you listen to the baritone 2 on that Heroes and Villains part, you'll hear the notes are a little different, but the same basic adding a punch to the bass and blending into the bass part a little bit. Girl, she's a girl. She's a girl. She's a girl. She's a... So that's what I call baritone 2 in the background vocal part. Really subtle in there. And like I said, when I was transcribing it from Heroes and Villains, I'm like, is this part really there or not? Or am I just hearing it? I think it sounds pretty cool. She's a girl. She's a girl. She's a girl. Then the tenor and the alto parts in Heroes and Villains, I wanted to keep those intact because that was kind of the signature part in it. Do-do-do, do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And the way Brian did is he split that up among tenor, and then one person is just on that do, because it's hard to do them at the same time. You can do it, but it sounds better to have one person go do-do-do-do-do-do. And that part I pretty much kept as is because I felt like this, I don't know, there was not much I can change to it, and it actually works over the chords. So let's try what I call the tenor part, and it's just doing this do-do, 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 do. She's a girl. She's a So that's simple, and it's pretty much like, I guess I did change it a little because instead of Heroes and Villains, it was just da-da-da-da. There was no words, so added a little bit of its own sort of spice and variation there. And then that alto part, like I said, is finishing off that line. She's a girl. And in Heroes and Villains, it also wasn't a word, so that's really the only thing I changed here. girl. So that sounds like this. She's a, then just one voice, girl. Pretty crazy. And then as far as that high part from Heroes and Villains, I had to adapt it because the chord progressions were different. It's still the same basic thing, the and then it just kind of makes that work over these two chords. And that's very similar to the Heroes and Villains part, and I think this, more than anything, will make people think of Heroes and Villains when they hear this part. And without this part, people might just be like, whoa, but this is very signature Heroes and Villains, even though I slightly altered it to adapt to that chord change. Yeah, it's actually quite different, because if you could go listen to the original Heroes and Villains one, and it just has to do a different melodic path because of that chord progression, like I keep saying. Then I, for some reason, put two other parts in here that are not on Heroes and Villains, so this is also going to give it a unique sound. So we're on part, I think, number 7 by now. Jeez, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7. And I'm calling this tenor 2. It's just in that range, but listen to this part. I don't think I took this from anywhere. I think I just made this part up. She's a girl. She's a girl. She's a girl. She's a. Then there's one more little chromatic part. And that sounds a little similar to a Beach Boys part on the song Vegetables that I think they call the tag. Hey, Babalooba. So a totally different Beach Boys song that I've just found a way to make work over. And I think it just keeps saying, she's a girl. Let's hear that. She's a girl. 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 Now let's listen one time with all of them together. So that's 8 different parts, all going at more balanced volumes here. You know, and these ones you were hearing each new part much louder so you could tell what it was. Let's hear this all together. It's pretty crazy. I mean, it is, like I said, it has the character of that Heroes and Villains counterpoint, but you can hear there's enough different going on that, you know, it is its own thing. If I took out the soprano line, let's hear what that would sound like without the doo-doo-doo-doo. With the soprano? Without the So you can hear that this was kind of successful. You know, maybe I copied the Beach Boys a little bit, but I don't really care about copying. I try to learn stuff, and then I see if I can use something about what I learned. If someone says, oh, that sounds like this along the way, it doesn't really bother me. I have a little bit of a different philosophy on music. To me, music belongs to the universe. It comes from the principles of sound and the mathematics that make sound and harmony possible. So take my song, use my song. I don't care. I don't really care about the idea of copying. I think that's something that everybody does, and you end up formulating your own style out of that. This is definitely a hyper focus on a Brian Wilson. There's no way I'm going to play this and people aren't going to say it sounds something like the Beach Boys. I'm aware of that. Let's build it up just one last time without stopping. So it's just going to go bass, baritone 2, tenor, alto, soprano, then that extra tenor 2, extra alto 2. Let's build them all up.
Girl, bo, 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 she's a girl, bo, 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 she's a girl, bo, 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 she's a girl, bo, 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 she's a girl, bo, 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 she's a girl, bo, she's a girl, she's
Before I end this lesson, I want to show you how this song turned out. First, let me show you the backing instrumental track without vocals, which really has a Phil Spector wall of sound kind of blown out, you know, huge tons of 50 or 100 different instruments going on, and I think sounds pretty cool. If you want to see a video of me talking about how I achieved a wall of sound type of sound in a modern DAW, check out this video you see on the screen here on my channel. Now here is the backing instrumental track. Now I want you to hear the finished mix of this part on the album, and you can buy this She's a Girl album on Bandcamp, and I would really hope you guys would go check that out because it is actually a really intricate album, and if you like this kind of stuff, I think you're going to love the album. But here is how it turned out on the album She's a Girl. This is that interlude or bridge, climax of the song in a way, and let's hear how it sounds. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned a lot from this and can apply that to your own compositions somehow. Thanks a lot for watching this video and taking an interest in my channel. Please help me reach a larger audience by hitting subscribe below and ringing the notification bell. Check out my video playlist page to find the categories that most interest you. Leave me a super thanks here on YouTube, and even better, come join my Patreon. Please consider buying music for my original projects I.S.S. and High Castle Teleorchestra. Also, don't forget to sign up for my email list on the front page of timsmolens.com. You can find information about all of those things in the description below. Thanks again.